So if you've been watching, you know I've been doing this series on love, lessons on love, the different words that are used for love. Again, in the English language, the reason I'm doing this is the English language is so sorely weak on the word for love. I love pizza. I love my husband. I love my purse. I love going to the movies, things like that. They're all different because the way I love my purse is not the same way I love my husband. And yet all we have in the English language is one word. Well, the Greeks did a much better job of differentiating between the types of love. And so if you've watched this series on lessons on love from me, you've seen that they use the word filio for like the brotherly love, which includes a commitment and a loyalty to one another, a sacrificial type of love. There is also ludus, which is a playful kind of love, which there's no commitment attached, but it's just playful and fun. And then I did the one on eros, which is most like the love we think about when we say I'm falling in love. So I eros you, I philia you, I ludus you. Well, today we're talking about another one of the love forms that the Greeks talked about, and it's called mania. And just like the word, it is not necessarily a positive form of love, because mania is based on a style of eros, which is, really focused on you, and ludus, which is playful and game playing. And it evolves, though, having a possessive style of loving. I want you to have all my love. I'm going to do everything for you. And you need something, I'm going to run and get it. Now, that may sound great at first, but if we get too much mania, it turns to obsession. And that's not good, because, well, especially as Christians, we know that the only thing we should be obsessed with is God. He should be my focus 24/7. So we shouldn't turn our obsession or focus on anyone more than that. But when mania goes too far, it's stalking, codependency, extreme jealousy, and violence can all be symptoms of mania. So remember, those kind of things are definitely manic, but manic doesn't mean we're going to go that far. And so I've seen people that are in this kind of love stage where I'm so focused, I want to let you know how much I love you. And the other person's like, dude, pull back. And when you get lovers that are manic, sometimes if both people don't feel the same way, the one that's the object of the obsession usually is like, that's a bit too much, and they pull away, which makes the other person like, wait. Now, this can happen with not only relationships that are romantic, but I've seen this happen in friendships where the friend is like, oh my gosh, you're my best friend. I can't believe that I have a friend like you. And they focus on buying that person gifts and doing everything that they can for that person. And just being so obsessed that I've seen friendships break apart because of this. So that's how it happens in friendships, but it can also happen in our romantic relationships, as I said. So mania, as I said, is I don't want to repeat myself, but this stalking, this codependency. So if you're anything like me, your first thought then I'm not that mania is no love at all. It's creepy. It's undesirable. Of course it is, but that's the whole reason that the Greeks labeled it mania, because they wanted us to understand these differences. One person might be like, I eros you, I ludus you, I filio you. But the main manics are like, I mania you, I'm obsessed with you. And so when you're talking to like your mom or your dad and you use these Greek words, you can actually break it down into these different levels, right? Or your girlfriends, right? How many of you talk about to your moms and dads about your kinds of loves? But so remember, this reason is for understanding the singular word love and just how different it can be to represent your feelings and the understandings of the word. So as I further develop these various uses of this word, you're going to see how some see love as an emotion while others see it as an action. And I'm going to also show you how one action produces a feeling. I mean, that's true all the time. Mania does not produce good feelings. Okay. At least not for its recipient. In the beginning, it might be nice. Like, oh my gosh, you bought me this $3,000 the handbag. That's wow, really awesome. But then if it keeps happening and you can't reciprocate, and it's like, okay, it's too much, right? So it may not produce good feelings in that sense. No. If any of you are thinking about movies, and if you're my age, remember the movie Fatal Attraction back in the 80s, I think. It's probably the best known example of mania for most of us people, especially my generation. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It'll creep you out. It'll give you a perfect example. Because in that movie, a married man has an affair with a woman and eventually regrets it. And then he tries to break it off, but she's like, no, she ain't having any part of it. And she's so obsessed with him. She does crazy things. She even boils his bunny rabbit. She probably shouldn't have given you that spoiler. He and the wife start really getting connected more. And it's like, she's losing it. So, crazy movie, go watch it. But manic lovers may not have started out manic, right? They fall in love just like the rest of us. And in the beginning, their beloveds enjoy it. As I was just saying, they're getting to know each other, spending time together, and that's central to this stage of the relationship. But over time, the beloved becomes more and more like an idol. And as I said, even in friendships, we can do this, that they get obsessed with doing anything and everything they can with this person. If this person doesn't want to reciprocate, they're like frustrated, like, I'm loving you so much. Why aren't you loving me back? So if we think, let's see, the object of their obsession is, say, Susie, and Susie wants to spend time with other friends and go to places and do this without the manic lover, this person becomes frustrated and upset because they can't understand why Susie could possibly feel like being with anyone but them. It's like, remember, manic lovers can be either men or women. I've seen women that were obsessed. I've seen men that were obsessed. So what I've described is kind of the extreme mania. Manic lovers can become stalkers and violent in the extreme. But if you think about those who are less extreme, I think about people who have talked to me about their lover who are quite jealous and possessive. I mean, while they haven't yet gotten to the level of super creepy or protective order worthy, they are still the two characteristics of a relationship that are unhealthy. So if we begin looking at the biblical definition of love that we get from Corinthians 1:13, true love is not jealous. So manic lovers, this is not true love if you're like so jealous that she or he is spending time with anyone else. And you looked at that other man for a microsecond. You shouldn't be doing that. That's unhealthy. And that I've seen with a lot of my clients, men or women are like, I can't even look around, or my spouse jumps at me like, you're attracted to that person. You looked at him. It's like, no, I just noticed that he or she existed. That can become crazy. And that kind of jealousy is based on lack of trust. Another video, right? So we have to have trust in our relationships. There are times when trust has been broken in a relationship and they're in the process of being rebuilt in those cases. And it's understand why you might have a small bout of jealousy if they look the other way. But look, if you're working to fight it off, that's acceptable. But manic lovers take jealousy way too far, and they start trying to control the other person and tell him or her who they can and cannot look at. They'll tell Susie that you're no longer going to go out on dates in public because that's the only way that I can make sure no other man looks at you. Sometimes comes under the guise of protecting Susie, but nonetheless, this manic type of love is unhealthy and needs to be reordered. So, oh my goodness, you're probably thinking, so much of this is creepy, but hey, I'm doing these lessons on love so you understand what we often confuse with love, right? Well, love is love. That is so stupid. Well, then what the heck? Describe it to me. And you've already gotten all these different lessons. So the good news here is that nothing's impossible with God. Like manic love, like many of our fleshly inclinations, is disordered. But with work, it can be reordered. And I've seen that happen. I can think of one specific couple I did where the husband was trying to be a good husband and I need to lead my family, but he was crossing over into controlling behavior of his wife. And they've really done some work, and she had to pull away and leave for a while. But, he had to learn, where do I protect and where do I, get overly burdensome. So it's kind of like a 12-step program for alcoholics. The manic lover's got to first recognize his or her tendencies to go overboard in these areas of possessiveness and jealousy, and then be willing to do the work it takes to change and minimize these tendencies. So, of course, I have seen in my life that those with a faith in and a reliance on God have a significantly higher chance of fixing these flaws, but again, they have to realize that it's going to take God's grace and a lot of your effort to do so. It's always harder to reorder something that's disordered. It's easy if you don't fall into these tendencies in the first place, but you know what? No one's perfect. We can, God created, let me rephrase that. I've seen in life those with a faith in and a reliance on God who have a significantly higher chance of fixing these flaws, but that's because they realize that it's going to take God's grace. So I think that's a better way of saying it. It's so hard to reorder this stuff without outside help. You can hire someone like me to help you if you think, yeah, I'm in this controlling or possessive relationship. If you're dating, I'd often say, you better get out. If you're married and it's like going too far, well, that's a different story because marriage is permanent until one of you dies. So we want to make sure we figure out how are we going to undo some of this. And sometimes it takes a good separation. So you know what? If you're dating the manic lover, be careful not to commit to this person until you see a significant and lasting change in him or her. As I just said, marriage is a whole different ball of wax because this commitment already exists. But this is mania. If you find yourself in this type of a relationship and don't know what to do or how to change it, give me a call. You can find me at Christine@breakfastwithbacon.com, and I'd be glad to help you sort this out. So that's it for today. You're going to have another one tomorrow, and we're leading up to the best one of all, which is agape. And I always have to look that up. Is it pronounced agape or agape? But that's where we're leading to true unconditional love. And we'll get there next time. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. You've been watching an informational Bacon Bit, and I want to remind you always to live your life sunny side up.